بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. So welcome everyone to this webinar from Arabica Institute. In this webinar, inshallah, what we'll be doing is that we'll be going through Surah Yusuf, but just to give you a bit of a background about Arabica Institute, about myself, and about what we're going to be doing today, inshallah. So Arabica Institute comprises of people who have been teaching Arabic for well over 15 years and have been teaching Arabic in the UK. A lot of us have worked with previous institutes in the past, like Ibn Jabal Institute. And right now what we're doing is we're trying to make Arabic as accessible to the masses and to all types of, to all types of people, basically, regardless of whether or not you have a lot of time to study Arabic, or whether you don't have as much time to study Arabic and you want to learn, dedicating 2 to 4 hours a week, for example, to learn in Arabic. And so that's what the Arabica Institute is. This series, inshallah, will be one of a few series that will happen over the year. We plan to have maybe 2 or 3 more in the year. Some will be done by my teacher, Sidi Salman Badrul Hassan. And it will, inshallah, be an opportunity for you to break out into topics. If you have suggestions of topics you want to go into, feel free to send us this as well. And that will be that. This is one of those sessions, inshallah. And just to make it clear, the purpose of this kind of session, this particular session, which is to analyze and to go through Surah Yusuf, is not to make all of you Arabists, not to make all of you experts in Arabic language, but is to sort of give you something or take you through a journey that will let you realize the inimitability of the Qur'an and the necessity of really having Arabic language in order to be able to access any real meaning when it comes to the Qur'an and to access the depths of rhetoric contained in the Qur'an. And if you don't have this tool, you're not able to dive into this ocean. It's just like someone diving into water without the oxygen tank. You won't be able to handle it, and you won't be able to handle the pressure. So that's the purpose of this session, is to give you an appreciation. If you really want to learn Arabic, go to www.arabicainstitute.com, and we have many Arabic courses which can set you on that journey towards actually learning Arabic and towards, inshallah, benefiting immensely from learning Arabic. So, as I said, this is not an Arabic lesson. It's a journey through Surah Yusuf in order to allow you to be able to taste the importance of Arabic or see what a difference Arabic makes to going through a verse like this. So I know that some of you might not have the Quran next to you. So what I actually have is I have Surah Yusuf, which I'm going to share my screen in a bit. I will please ask you all, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them towards the end. We're going to have about an hour or so. Please write down your questions, and inshallah we'll try to answer a few of them. This is not the only session that we'll have. We'll have 2 further sessions on this same surah. And feel free to invite, if you feel you benefited from this session, feel free to invite others to the next sessions that we'll have. And okay, so Bismillah. So, in the Arabic language, generally speaking, in order to be able to contextualize any speech, right? In order to be able to understand anything you see that's written, there are 3 very important things that you need to have in mind, right? 3 very important things. The first thing is the speaker, right? You need to know who the speaker is, and you need to know the state of the speaker. So for example, you need to know who the speaker is, and was the speaker joking? Was the speaker serious? Was it, you need to know who the speaker is and the state of the speaker. The next thing you need to know is to know the audience. Who was the audience speaking to? Sorry, who was the speaker speaking to? So you need to understand the audience and to understand who the speaker was speaking to. And the third thing is the context. In what context was the speaker saying this statement or these words to the audience? When you understand these three things very well, right, you are able to actually understand what the statement is and what it's all about. So let's actually look at Surah Yusuf, okay? And this was a surah, it's a Meccan surah, meaning it was revealed in Mecca, okay? And it was revealed, now let's start, who was the author, who is the author of Surah Yusuf? As Muslims, of course, we believe it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in which state was Allah speaking? He was speaking in his position as the Lord, right? And who was he? Who was the audience here? He was speaking directly to the Prophet Muhammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and peace and blessings be upon him. And he was speaking to him in which context? And first of all, who is the Prophet Muhammad to Allah? This is Allah's beloved, right? Habibullah, right? So he was speaking, Allah was speaking, is speaking here to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In which context, right? Which is the third part. Which context was this surah revealed? This was revealed at the time where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was going through probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest moments of his life, right? Let's start by looking at it. In fact, the series of events that we're going to describe now were so tough. The whole year was called Amul Huzn, which in the Arabic language means the year of sorrow, the year of sadness, the year of grief. The first thing that happened in that year was that the wife that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had alone for 25 years, right? His bedrock, right? His pillar of love, Khadija alayha salam, Sayyidah Khadija alayha salam, had just passed away. This was the person he ran to first when the verses Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq was revealed to him. This person had just passed away, had just died, right? It was so tough for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We know from his seerah, from his autobiography, that he regularly used to go back to Khadija, you know, for advice and for solace, just as he used to go to God as well. And so that happened. Then Abu Talib, his uncle, who took him from a young age, who took care of him from a young age, who would always travel with him, to, you know, and even preferred him above some of his own children, right? Abu Talib passed away that same year. Not only did he love the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much, he was also, from the Meccan tribe perspective, he was also his protector. He was the person who, him being alive meant nobody could harm the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? From the Quraysh. So nobody could harm him because they knew he had the backing of Abu Talib. So Abu Talib just passed away. Khadija, his beloved, right, passed away. Abu Talib, sorry, another beloved of his, just passed away. And then in that same year, he went to Ta'if, right? He went to Ta'if, which is a place outside Mecca, a little village outside Mecca, and he went to call them to God. And they chased him out. They asked kids to stone him. He was absolutely dejected and humiliated by the people of Ta'if, right? And the famous prayer which he prayed at that point, where he said, God, as long as you're not angry with me, I don't mind. I'll take all of this for your sake, right? So this was his feeling. This was what he was going through. There was so much negativity in his, and not only that, even to put the whole context, all of these things were happening at a time where the Meccans had expelled the Muslims from Mecca. They said nobody was allowed to trade with them. Nobody was allowed to sell food to them. Nobody was allowed to marry them or do anything with them, right? They had to live on the bare necessity. They had to literally live on eating leaves and things like that for a couple of years, okay? So this is the context. It's very important to understand the context. This is the context in which this surah came. And what is the kind of lesson we can learn from a surah, Surah Yusuf, in which we're going to read later, where God described this surah as the best of stories, right? We're going to narrate to you the best of stories, a very beautiful story of a very beautiful, handsome prophet, right? We're going to tell you this story, okay? Where is what is God seeing his beloved prophet being in a very, very, very negative and in a very painful, sorrowful state? He decides to counteract that sorrow with what? Planting beauty in his heart. Narrating, because the Quran, one of the ways the Quran was revealed is, as the Quran says, ala qalbika, was revealed on the heart of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So Allah is negating beauty, negating the negativity, is dealing with, is facing, counteracting the negativity surrounding the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, including in his own personal life, with telling him an amazing and a beautiful story. Some people might ask, why is this, you know? And this is the lesson for us all. When we look at the negativity that we're surrounded with, generally speaking, right? How do we counteract this ourselves? Do we counteract it with adding more negativity, or do we counteract it with beauty? Do we counteract it with planting beauty in our hearts and being beautiful people and people of beautiful example? From the Surah to Yusuf, Allah chose beauty to counteract negativity. Okay? So this is the context of Revelation. This is what this whole message, this whole verse, this whole surah, this chapter was revealed. This is the backdrop to it. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go straight into the surah and then start looking at the story. And what I'm going to try to do, just, I myself am a student of the Arabic language, and that's not a humble statement. I am still learning the Arabic language. I still learn regularly. I sit down with teachers every now and then to still learn certain aspects of the Arabic language. So I'm not a scholar, and I'm not a scholar. I have, yes, taught Arabic for over 10 years, but I'm still a student of the Arabic language, which means what I'm going to go through, it will be to a large extent from a linguistic perspective, and it's to give all of us a linguistic taste of the Arabic language, something that will make you really understand. And we're going to look at the translation, a translation as well, and you're going to see how translations by far fall short of the eloquence contained in the Arabic. So I'm going to share the screen of the Quran. If you can't see it or for whatever reason, just let me know. So this is Surah Yusuf, okay? And it starts, I'm just going to recite these three verses in Arabic, and then we're going to start, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ر تلك آيات الكتاب المبين إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين. Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm not even going to go into the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If we were to try to explain this, we will spend a lot of time. But let's start with Surah Yusuf, inshallah. So Surah Yusuf starts with Alif Lam Ra. Okay? The vast majority of the Mufassirun, the people who explain the Quran, they explain these 3 verses by saying these are secrets of God. These are words that only God knows the reality, and only God knows the meaning of it. And I am going to say that as well, only God knows the reality and only God knows the meaning, but I'm going to just try to point your attention to just something else which is very important to try to have a look at. So if we look at Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Baqarah actually also starts with, I'm just going to quickly show you, it also starts with Alif Lam Mim, these kind of letters, okay? Alif Lam Mim. But here Allah says Dhalika, okay? For you, when you read the Arabic language, when you read the English translation, you're going to see this is, and here you're going to see these are. And all you can see as a difference is tilka, right? And in Surah Al-Baqarah, you have dhalika, okay? So you're going to ask, if you're someone that, you don't have a taste of the Arabic language, and you've not learned the Arabic language, all you're going to see in this translation is this, or in this case, you're going to see these, okay? But someone who has learned the Arabic language will tell you, number one, this word for these here, the one translated as this tilka, in the Arabic language, this word is feminine, okay? Tilka is feminine. And in the Arabic language, dhalika is masculine. So here we have 3 letters, Alif Lam Mim, dhalika, okay? And dhalika referring to this, okay? This, dhalika is referring to these 3 letters. And here we have Alif Lam Ra, tilka. And tilka refers to these 3 letters. In Alif Lam Mim, dhalika is masculine. In Alif Lam Ra, tilka is feminine, okay? Now, these are hints, right, for reflection. As you're going to see later on, here, the whole reason of this being revealed in Arabic is to compel you to think in Arabic. Now, for those who have the tools to reflect, they will look at this and say, okay, tilka. The first thing they will actually say about tilka is, tilka actually does not mean these. The word for these, if you translate these in Arabic, it's ha'ula'i, right? That's these. And if you want to say this in Arabic, which you're pointing to something that's close to you, you will say hadihi. And if you were to translate tilka literally means that. And in fact, it doesn't only just mean that. The word for that on its own, when you want to say that you're pointing to, is actually tika in Arabic, tika. And the lam there is called lamul bu'd, the lam of distance, which means when you say tilka, it means you're actually pointing to something that's very far and very high, right? Very far away, okay? So based on that basic understanding of the Arabic language, we know that tilka here, it's feminine as opposed to the dhalika, which is masculine. And we know that it's pointing to something that is actually far away, that is high. In balagha, in rhetoric in the Arabic language, one of the things you learn is that sometimes when something is close to you, but you want to, if something is written, is close to you, but you want to explain and show that actually its reality is way beyond your grade, right? You refer to that thing as though it was far from you. An example, if you're in front of a king, right? And you want to say, this is the king. And even though the king is right next to you, you would probably say, ذَلِكَ الْمَلِكُ, that is the king, right? You would say ذَلِكَ to show that his status is way beyond your grade, right? And that is to show that ذَلِكَ, when it points, or tilka, when it points to something, it points to an essence that is way high. It's a type of ta'adhim in Arabic. It's a type of magnification, right? But that magnification, it's totally lost in these, right? When you're just going to read these in Arabic, in English as these, where is all the meanings that I've just explained now, which is a fact from the Arabic perspective? Tilka doesn't actually mean these. It actually means that, or if it's referring to non-human plurals, it means those. So why is, of course, this translation is correct, because it's what it really means is these, but it's lost the meaning of the fact that by using tilka as opposed to hadihi, as opposed to hadihi, which is the actual word for this, right? By using tilka, it's lost the meaning. It indicates that this is something that is really high. This is something that is really great that you're pointing at. Okay, so look at the beginning. Notice that I've not gone into the difference between Alif Lam Mim and Alif Lam Ra. This is another type of class where you go into depths of meanings. It's a tafsir class, and I'm not a qualified mufassir yet, inshallah. So until that time, but yeah, we'll just leave the meanings, and we'll say that only God knows the difference in the Alif Lam Mim, which has dhalika, pointing to masculine, and Alif Lam Ra, which has tilka, pointing to something which is feminine. Okay, so as we've said here, tilka here, it's pointing to something that is high. Okay, so now that's the first thing that we've looked at that is lost in translation. Next part, tilka ayatul kitab, right? These are the signs of al-kitab, the book, right? Al-mubin. It says here the manifest book, right? That's another manifest. What does it mean for something to be manifest, right? In the Arabic language, let's actually dig in the word mubin, what it actually means in the Arabic language. So this here, it says this Alif Lam Ra, these Alif Lam Ra, these are the signs of a clear book or a manifest book, right? First of all, let's just stop at the word sign. We know that the word for sign here, a sign is something that points to something else. When you're driving on the road and you see a stop sign, it indicates that you have to do something. You have to stop. And when you see a green light, it means you have to move. And these are signs. But guess what? If I am coming from a desert that I've never seen the traffic lights before, and I don't understand what traffic lights are supposed to signify, if I see red, I'm going to keep walking. I'm just going to say hello, hi, and keep walking, right? If I see green, I might stop and say, I like that color. It's the color of, green, it's the color of leaves, and I don't have any leaves in the desert, right? So I will not be able to understand the sign, right? Which means if you don't have the tools to be able to read signs, you can't get anything from it. You could look at it and not even really be totally, you'll be totally lost without being given the tools to read the signs. So here we're saying these are the signs of the book that illuminates, the book that makes something clear. Now, as I said, so that's the nature of a sign. What is the tool to be able to unlock or to be able to read signs of the Quran? I say to you, the first tool, which you can't even start the journey, right, without having this tool, is the Arabic language. It's actually impossible for you to really unlock the amazing mysteries. Let me not say impossible, because Allah is able to do all things. But by normal mode, it's almost impossible for you to really unlock the amazing depths of rhetoric brilliance contained in the Quran without having the key to read the signs of the Quran. And the first key, I'm not saying it's the only key, but it's the first key that you need, is the Arabic language. So Allah says, Alif Lam Ra, Tilka ayatul kitab al-mubin. These are the signs of the book that is mubin. Now let's look at the word mubin. In the Arabic language, the word mubin comes from the root word bana yabinu. Bana means to be clear. It's where the word bayyina comes from, right? Which is clear, right? However, Bana is the verb form one of it. The form which this word mubin comes from is the fourth form, which is abana yubinu fahuwa mubinun. Abana means to make something clear. Okay? Abana means to make something clear. So a mubin is something that makes another thing clear. How is that explained in the word manifest? Something that's manifest is something that's actually clear in its own, but it doesn't tell you it actually makes something clear. So it's saying that these are the signs of a book that makes things clear, right? That is, this book, if you want to seek clarity, come to it, because that's what it does. It's mubin. It gives clarity. It makes things clear for you, as clear as daylight. Okay? So this is the first verse of this surah. Alif, Lam, Ra. Allah knows the reality of these words. Tilka ayatul kitab al-mubin. These, right? These are the signs of the book that makes things clear. And then the next verse, it says, inna, right? In the Arabic language, whenever you see inna, right, you understand that you're talking to someone that needs to be convinced. There are three types of audiences in the Arabic language. When you learn rhetoric, you'll be taught that there are three types of audiences. You can classify into one, the jahil, the one who knows nothing, where if you say to them, the sun is out, they will accept it. They don't have any reason to disbelieve you or to doubt you. Then you have the doubter, the person who is not sure, or somebody, maybe because of their down state, they need to be pushed to another state. So they need a bit of emphasis when you're speaking to them, right? So maybe someone who is ill, you tell the person, the sun is really out, so let's go, you know, or someone who hasn't been out for a few days, you tell them there's really something going on, so let's really go, let's go, right? So you have to sort of emphasize it. In the English language, you don't have much emphasis except through, you do have emphatic particles, but it's not really used in normal conversation except through raising your voice or emphasizing certain things in speaking. But in the Arabic language, you have emphatic particles like in, okay? And then you have the third type of audience, which is the munkir, which is the one who disbelieves in what you're going to say, the skeptic, right? Who you need to emphasize a lot more. Not just one emphatic particle will not be sufficient for the person who is a skeptic. You need to have a few more emphatic particles when you're speaking to such a person. And some of them, you will need more than emphatic particles. You will need something that goes beyond logic, beyond normal. Hence, they'll need a miracle in order to be able to accept what you're saying, which is why the Qur'an came as a miracle. And some, even after you give them a miracle, they're still not going to accept it, you know. سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. God says about these third group of people, which is there's some skeptics that it's the same to them, whether you warn them or whether you don't warn them, they're not going to accept anything that comes from you. Okay, so here we have inna, which is usually used for the middle type, the person who is not, you can say maybe the doubter or the person who has a reason to be sort of wavy or in the middle. And in this situation, you have somebody, Prophet Muhammad, who is going through, although he's going through a really, really negative state, of course, with Allah, he's never lost hope or never been someone that's ever had any bad opinion of God, right? But don't forget, the Prophet Muhammad is the first receiver of this, but it's not only for him. It's for everybody that would go through difficulties, that would want to read this. So for them, when they read inna and they understand the Arabic language and they understand that, okay, this is a real confirmation, this is an emphatic particle, that it's inna. The next part to look at is, why is it indeed we, right? Why is it we? Why is it not indeed I, right? The answer to the way to look at that is, if you're speaking to somebody who is quite, if you have a child or if you have someone who you love, right? And you say to the person, I am with you, right? Or you say, don't worry, we are all with you. right? Which one sounds a lot more emphatic? Of course, it's we are all with you. It's almost as if we're saying we're with you with everything we have, right? So inna here is saying indeed we, God is speaking to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this state, primarily in this state of him having gone through all the things we've described, and he's saying, don't worry, inna, we, it's us, it's still coming from us. And we anzalnahu, we revealed it, right? We have revealed it. This who here refers back to the book, right? The book. And this book here is saying that this Alif Lam Ra are signs of this book, right? So Alif Lam Ra are signs of this book. One of the things I like is when you say Alif Lam Ra, it's just like UN or ADP or SAP or whatever it is. It has meanings, but only Allah knows the full depth of the meanings. You have some tafasir if you're really interested. Once you learn Arabic, inshallah, you can dive into some of the exegesis of the Quran that dive into some of these meanings, but this is not the place for that. Okay, so inna anzalnahu, we for sure have revealed it, right? Qur'anan. Here it says we've sent it down as an Arabic Qur'an. This doesn't tell you what it's trying to tell you here. In the Arabic language, when you see this, inna anzalnahu Qur'anan, we have revealed it to be in a state of a Qur'an. Qur'an comes from the root word qara'a. We have revealed qara'a, which means to read. We have revealed this book as something that should always be read, right? That its permanent state, this is what the fact that it's written as a noun here, it's saying that we have revealed it as something that should always be read, as a recitation, as a Quran. Some people say the word Quran is not from qara'a, that is just a noun that just means Quran. Fine. Others say it's from qara'a, which means to read, and it's a extreme form of that, meaning you should always read this. Read it so much that it becomes part and parcel of you. So we have revealed it as a recitation. Arabiyan here, this is an adjective. We have revealed it as an Arabic recitation, right? So this is enough. Just this part alone is enough to let you understand that this Quran is really the Quran only when it's in this attribute of it, right? Which is in Arabic. We have revealed this as a recitation, an Arabic recitation, an Arabic Quran, right? Why? Look at this. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. La'alla in Arabic language, the direct meaning is perhaps, like maybe, with the hope that as a result of this, you, right? That as a result of the fact that we revealed this book in Arabic, perhaps you may ta'qilun, you may use your intellect. Okay? Now, let's try to see why is Arabic language chosen as a vehicle for God's final revelation? This is one of the reasons it's given us here. It says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Perhaps as a result of this, it will compel you to use your intellect. How does that happen? The Arabic language actually forces you to use your intellect. When you compare it to other languages, let's take English for example. If I say human, right? Human to you, you just immediately take the word human and you take it like that. But if I say insan to an Arab, right? If I say insan, the Arab will say, okay, what are the root letters of insan? Where does it come from? And once I understand the root letters, Arabic language has this concept of root letters where any word you take in the Arabic language usually has 3 or 4 or 5 letters that are its roots. And these roots have a plethora of meanings. It's like a meaning space, right? That has so many meanings that gives you a taste of what that word actually means, or a philosophy, of understanding that word. So let's take the very simple example of insan, which is mankind, right? It's translated as mankind in the Quran. It's translated as mankind in English, okay? One of the meanings of insan is nasiya. One of the root letters of insan, one of the roots of insan is the word nasiya, which means to forget. So what is the link between insan, mankind, and nasiya, which means to forget? What is the link between that? One of the understanding that this gives from an Arabic philosophical perspective is that mankind's very nature is to forget who he is, right? Is to forget who he is. And who is mankind? Right? Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifatan. Allah says, I am going to continually place on earth a vicegerent, someone that would represent me. So mankind forgets his reality that you're there to be someone that represents God in God's presence, right? Normally the word khalifa, generally speaking, is to represent someone in their absence, but in God's case, God is never absent. So insan tells you that there is a forgetfulness nature to mankind. Also, mankind by nature forgets his own very nature, which is the fact that how many of us constantly remember the fact that we were born on one day and we're going to die one day. That's the most basic nature of human beings, that they're born and they're going to die. That second part, the first part, they're born, they remember it every year. Birthday, birthday, birthday. But the second part, which is as important as the first, they forget it. Now, if mankind remembers the nature that he's going to die, it compels him to behave in a different way. It compels him or her to behave in a totally different way. All right? So Arabic, when you look at the word insan, you look at, oh my God, the forgetfulness, the essence of human beings, which is why God regularly sent messengers. He didn't stop with one. He could have just stopped at Adam or at Noah. No, he continually sends messengers. And after the death of Prophet Muhammad, yes, there will be no more messenger, but he has inheritors who are the scholars who inherit the messengers in calling people back to the same message. Right? So human being by nature needs to be reminded. That's one meaning. Another word, the word insan is the pupil of an eye. It's the core focus, right? It's the core focus. Without it, there's no vision, right? So how is that in relation to what God has created? It means human being is the essence of God's creation. It's the peak of God's creation. Is the source through which, right, God is known in the highest form, right? So this is and these kind of meanings, there are meanings that the Arabic language forces you. Also, the other thing as well is, let's try to look at in the context of this verse. Alif Lam Ra. We don't know what these words mean. If we look at the Qur'an itself, actually, the Qur'an, as Muslims believe, is from God's, and it's from God's words which do not have a beginning or an end. God's words are limitless. In another verse of the Quran, God says, if we were to make all the oceans as ink and all the trees as pens, in order to be able to write down the words of God, all of these would be extinct, will be expired very soon, will be finished very soon, and God's word would only just get started, right? So if these words are some of the signs of this book, of these limitless words, it means it was then revealed in Arabic so that you may ta'qilun. Now let's look at how this Arabic helps us to ta'qilun, reflect from an Arabic linguistic perspective. The word ta'qilun comes from aql. Aql is translated as the intellect in Arabic language. Also, you know, if you've ever been to Dubai or UAE or the Khalij, you usually see them tie a rope, like the rope on top of their head, right? This rope is called iqal, okay? What traditionally they used to use that rope for is that whenever they would ride a camel or donkey or whatever it is in the desert, whenever they needed to rest somewhere, they would use the rope to tie the camel's leg to something so that the camel will not roam away freely. Okay, so that the camel will not just go away freely. It's to give some sort of limitation and some sort of control to it. Now, how does that apply to reason? Can we, as human beings that have a beginning and an end, comprehend the limitless words of God? Can the limited comprehend the limitless? Right? If God did not choose to reveal his words in Arabic so that we can tie it down somehow, so that we can have a way to tie down these limitless meanings, which we have no access to, right? So here, apply reason. How does that tell you that, well, guess what? It's to actually tie it down in a way, which without it, we will be totally lost. Just like a camel roaming in the desert, right? We have nowhere to go. We just keep roaming around and lost. But when it's tied down in a place and it's ridden to a particular location, then it has a purpose, right? So you see, we have revealed the Quran in Arabic because the Arabic language compels you to use your intellect. Because you can, so that you can have a means of tying down, of comprehending these limitless words of God. The limitless words of God, we've now tried to give you a way of comprehending it by revealing it with letters that start with alif and end in ya. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so that you may think. Okay? So you can see now, we've just done 2 verses, right? And you can see already what a difference it makes when you don't understand the Arabic language and you just read. You would have read this, oh, Alif Lam Ra, these are the signs of the manifest book. Indeed, we've sent it down as an Arabic Quran so that you may apply reason. Apply reason. Where is the link to reason and the tying down effect of iqal? Right? You don't get that. Right? So then we go to the next verse where Allah says, Nahnu. Here again, this is like, you know, a comforting state that Allah is speaking to his beloved here. Right? Nahnu naqussu. In the Arabic language, naqussu on its own means we are narrating. This on its own, it means we are narrating. Right? Or we're recounting, or we're telling a story. Why? You see, you've lost the fact that here it says, Nahnu naqussu. An Arab, someone who has learned Arabic will tell you, guess what? If you're right, if you're going to say, Nahnu naqussu, you don't need to see, if you're going to say, we are narrating, an Arabic teacher will tell you, you just say, naqussu. Right? You don't need to say, Nahnu naqussu. So why would you say, Nahnu naqussu? Is to really emphasize. That emphasis is lost in here. Totally lost in when you say, we will recount to you. Where is the emphasis of saying, it is us, we, that we will recount, you know, narrate this to you. Right? So, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ. We, right? We are the ones, and of course this is the royal we. Right? In many non-European languages, you use the plural when you're referring to people of high status, or when you're referring to, in my language, for example, Yoruba, when you're referring to someone who is much older than you, you don't say you in the singular, you say you in the plural, right? And that's very similar to what's used here in the Arabic language. When you're referring to someone grand, and here this is God referring to himself, saying, we, don't worry, we are the ones relating this to you. Okay, نحن نقص عليك. We are narrating to you أحسن القصص. We are narrating to you the best of stories. Okay. Now, if the verse had stopped here, right, we will say that this story that is going to be narrated is the best of stories. Period. Okay? So when you look here, it says, we will recount to you the best of narratives in what we have revealed to you of this Qur'an. In what? So it's the best of narratives in what we've revealed to you of this Qur'an. And indeed, prior to it, you were amongst those who were unaware of it. Okay? Or we will tell you a story in the best of narration. So this is another meaning, which is good that they've tried to give you, a tafsir, an exegesis, an explanation of another meaning of this. So it could be that this is the best of stories, or the best of styles of narration. Okay? Or another meaning is bima, it's the best of stories, be with what, or bima, or regarding, awhayna, regarding what we have revealed, ilayka, to you. Or another way of looking at this is this, we are reciting to you, we're reciting to you the best of stories by virtue of the fact that it is the best of stories by the virtue of the fact that it's revealed to you. Right? By virtue, bima awhayna ilayk. It becomes the best of stories because it's part of your story now. Right? Meaning, we are going to now use it to complement your life at the moment. We're going to use it to complement what you're going through. And because of that, it's now the best of stories. Right? Because it's linked to ilayka. This is another way of looking at this. See, all of these are valid ways of analyzing this only from a linguistic perspective, right? All of that which is just lost in here. You don't have, this is a good attempt at showing you another way, but there are many, many other ways of reading this, right? So we are narrating to you the best of stories, of the stories that we've told you in this Qur'an, right? Meaning it's the best of all the stories that have been revealed to you in this Qur'an. That's another meaning of it. Okay? So نحن نقص عليك, we are narrating to you. أحسن القصص, the best of narrations, or the best styles of narration, right? بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن, in what we have revealed to you this recitation, this Qur'an, وَإِن كُنْتَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ لَمِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. Before it, you were unaware of it, right? Before its revelation to you, or before the book, right? You were not aware of this. Or maybe you were not aware of the fact that it's actually linked to your state, to your essence. Because, you know, the story of Yusuf is very similar to what the Prophet Muhammed was going through here, right? Which is what? Yusuf was betrayed by his own brothers, his own family. The Prophet Muhammad was betrayed by his own family. Yusuf was sold out and exiled, you know, by his own family, was put into a well, taken out of the whole family home. This is exactly what the Prophet Muhammad was going through at this stage. And eventually, Yusuf came back to rule. All of them submitted to him. And exactly this is the same thing that happened to the Prophet Muhammad. So maybe this is a fact that we're telling you this story, we're narrating to you the most beautiful of stories because it's related to you in this Quran, right? And before it, you didn't even know about it. You were of those who were unaware of it, right? Of it being linked to you, of it being of the fact that this happened in this way, and so on and so forth. Okay? So these are the kind of meanings that can be taken, that can be drawn from this recitation, from this Quran, from this verse, simply through linguistic lenses. Okay? Now, these are now the introduction. Now, one of the things that is lost on those who don't have the Arabic language or don't look at the whole context is when you now look at these next few verses. We're going to recite the next two verses in Arabic first, and then we're going to then translate. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين قال يا بني لا تقصص رؤياك على إخوتك فيكيدوا لك كيدا إن الشيطان للإنسان عدو مبين. Okay, so here it starts by saying, when Yusuf said to his father, Father, I saw 11 planets, and the sun and the moon, I saw them prostrating before me. Okay? Or I saw 11 stars. Planets here could be stars. Now, look at this. When you read this in English, it says, I saw 11 planets. Okay? 11 stars. When Joseph said to his father, first of all, it totally loses upon you that, guys, when you're about, when you're about to tell someone a story, right? You normally start by saying, one day, but here it just jumps straight into the story. The rhetorical power of starting with if, when, like you're basically immersing the person you're speaking to straight into the story without giving them the opportunity to even assess whether they want it or not. And this is a beautiful way of drawing someone away from look at what Prophet Muhammad was facing. And then you can understand why he has been pulled in this direction. إِذْ قَالَ Yusuf, when Yusuf said, right? Automatically your attention is seized. In the Arabic language, someone, it's just like if I were to come to you and I just say to you, when you saw that person, you're thinking, okay, automatically you're starting to think, okay, when I saw that person, right? But if I said to you, oh, by the way, do you know, by the way, you're given time to point, but here you're pulled straight into the story, okay? So, إِذْ قَالَ Yusuf, when Yusuf said, okay, لِأَبِيهِ, to his father, يَا أَبَتِي, you see here it says father. It totally loses the fact that in the Arabic language, if you say Ya Abi means my father. Ya Abati is a daring way of saying my dear father, right? It's a way of, there's an intimacy that's lost here in this translation that just says father, right? It's like dad, right? In a very dear way, right? Ya Abati, inni ra'aytu. Indeed, I saw 11 kawkaban. I saw 11 stars, kawkaban. Washamsa, and I saw the sun. Wal qamara, and I saw the moon. Ra'aytuhum, I saw them. Li, to me, sajidina, prostrating. Now, let's dive into this from a linguistic perspective. Now, in the Arabic language, first thing you learn is one of the things you learn when you learn about plurals is that you learn that non-human plurals are typically treated as though they were feminine and singular grammatically. So you'd refer to, in Arabic, typically when you're saying 11 stars, you wouldn't have used hum, right? You would have used ha, which is feminine. You would have said ra'aytu ha, I saw them, and ha would mean them. But here, when you translate it, I saw them, you've lost the fact that here, even the way he's narrating the dream, this is what you call personification, right? In linguistics. He's already looking at these things he saw as human beings, as beings. So it's a personification by using hum as opposed to ha, right? And then he says, رَأَيْتُهُمْ لِي سَاجِدِينَ. I saw them, here it says, I saw them prostrating themselves before me. It doesn't translate the fact that, you see, in English, it says prostrating themselves before me. The prostration comes before the object. Here, the object is li, and then the prostration is here. It doesn't, you know, what it's saying here in the Arabic, I saw them to me, like, oh my God, it's to me that these were prostrating. This li is brought forward before the object, or the things, the subject, the things that are prostrated. The li here is the object of prostration, and here is the people that are prostrating, or the things that are prostrating, right? Why is this brought forward? I saw them to me. This is called taqdeem in the Arabic language, bringing something forward where it should be put, where normally you would expect it to come later. And there's a rhetorical flourish to this which is lost in the translation. So it's saying, I saw them to me. Can you imagine? To me, prostrating, right? So that is the meaning here that is intended with the language, but it's lost in the translation, right? So I saw this, oh dad, oh my dear dad, I saw 11 stars, the sun, the moon, and I saw them to me prostrating. You see, even the word sajidina here, you see the word prostrating here, this, if you look at this, you would expect a verb. Here, this is a noun in the Arabic language. That is, it's almost as if these were in a permanent state of being below me, or in a permanent state of prostration before me, right? This is what he saw. And hence, you know, they leave me, and this can show a type of humility, you know, or surprise coming from Yusuf, which is lost in the translation, okay? So this is him telling his dad, I saw 11 stars, the sun and the moon, I saw them to me, imagine prostrating. What did the father say? Qala, right? He said, Ya bunayya, or in Warsh, Ya bunayyi, right? He said, this is translated as, he said, my son. Bunayya doesn't really mean my son. I'm going to explain that very soon, but let's read the translation. He said, my son, do not recount your dreams to your brothers, lest they should devise schemes against you. Satan is indeed man's manifest enemy. Okay? But in the Arabic language, Ya bunayya actually means my little son, right? Bunay, right? The bunay form is a ism tasghir. It's a diminutive form. And it's when you're speaking to your son, like my little son, like my dear little son, right? By saying that, we have another hadith, you know, where the Prophet Muhammad, you know, said, Ya Umair, ماذا فعل النغير? You know, this same Umair, Nughair, it's a diminutive form. The same diminutive form is used here, where the Prophet Muhammad was trying to console a little boy that had just lost, that his parents has just died, and he spoke to him in the same way, using that, you know, diminutive is probably not. It doesn't fully translate what it's trying to do here. It's a way of basically speaking to someone in a loving way, right? It's saying, like my little son, you know, oh little Umar, oh Umayr, what did the little parrot do, right? So here, Ya bunayya, oh my little son, right? Oh my son, but that is lost here. La taqsus ru'yaka, don't narrate your vision. Ala ikhwatika, don't tell your brothers your dreams. Fayakidu laka kaida, right? In the Arabic language, once you read this, immediately you notice, oh wait a minute, this fa, it's translated here as lest, but in the Arabic language, you notice that this is a different type of fa. This is the fa of consequence. It's called fa sababiyya. A fa that tells you, if you do this, this is what will happen, okay? Fayakidu, if you tell them, right? If you tell them your dream, they will plot. Laka, they will plot something against you. And notice, this is the interesting thing that's also lost here. It says, lest they should devise schemes against you. In the Arabic language, it says, fayakidu laka kaidan. It literally means they will plot against you a plot. A plot. It's indefinite, kaidan, which means this, look at the adab, the manners and the good manners of the father here in telling his son. He has to tell his son the reality of what might happen. But at the same time, being someone of good manners, he doesn't say they will do something evil against you. No, he said they will plot something, right? Out of, you see, and that kaidan, it's not shown here. It says just devise schemes. It's not shown that he is leaving what they might do as unknown, even though he might actually know it. But he's saying, فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا. They might devise against you a plot, right? A plot. إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ. You see? So, first of all, it's not, you see, that is lost here, where he says that if you do this, then if you tell them your dream, they might plot a plot against you, right? And then this amazing adab, this amazing manner from the father, this amazing good manner from the father to say, look, it's not really them. By nature, inna shaytan, indeed Satan, lil insani, to mankind, aduwwun mubin, he is a clear enemy, right? He is a really, really, really clear enemy, right? Now, look at the fact that the father here, rather than saying, indeed, your brothers are really nasty people, right? Which you could have said, right? Indeed, he says, indeed, Satan, he's a real enemy to mankind, meaning these guys are, in their weakness, once if they were to realize where God is going to put you, Satan might whisper to them to do certain things and they might fall for it and do it. So the father, being a prophet himself, knows where these kind of actions come from. So he said, Inna shaytana lil insani aduwwun mubin. He made excuses for his children, right? And when he was speaking about his children's action in front of another child of his, he says, indeed, Satan is a manifest enemy. Okay? And so now we can see here another meaning that's lost, is kaidan, right? What is it? The fact that is left to him in an unspecified way. Also, the bunayya, oh my little son, right, is lost in this translation, right? Also, the other thing is, I didn't want to really go, there are many depths that can be gone into, but because we only have a little bit of time, of course, we're not going to finish Surah Yusuf. We'll just journey through it, inshallah. This la taqsus, right? This don't narrate. In the Arabic language, there are many reasons. There are many types of negations, right? There are many types of amr or nahi. This is a nahi, it's a prohibition. There are many types. There's a type that you say to your friend, don't tell anyone. It's not a command. It's like you're saying, please don't tell anyone, right? Generally speaking, a prohibition in the Arabic language is something that comes from someone who is at a high level to someone who is at a low level, with a command or a prohibition that they're able to actually carry out, right? In this case, it's what you call haqiqi. It's a real prohibition. Don't say it. Or you can say it's a nusх wal irshad. It's an advice. You should really not tell your brothers, okay? You can look at it in both ways, okay? Don't tell your brothers, don't tell your dream, don't narrate your dream to your brothers, because they might plot something against you. Indeed, Satan is a clear enemy to mankind, okay?